The sound of 8 legs running through the ducts in this apartment complex can only mean one thing. It's Sting! Sting was written and directed by Kaya Roach Turner, who's done some horror movies. Check out his IMDb page for the full list of his work, and is set in a New York City apartment complex that consists of about 4 rooms, some ducts, and a basement. That's really about your lot right there. What a great apartment complex. Then again, a family lives there, including a mother that has some dementia, and her granddaughter, Charlotte. Not lifestyles of the rich and the famous. We're only complaining, only complain. And yeah, I pretty much ruined that song. I don't really care. Let's talk about 12-year-old Charlotte, who finds a spider and decides to raise it as her very own. And what follows is a rapid descent into body horror and craziness and cat and mouse. Except there's not a mouse, there's a cat, there's a dog, and there's also this spider that grows and grows and grows. And basically, it's a throwback to 60s, 70s, and even 80s. You know, just crazy, gory monster movies with some really dumb characters and some attempts at comedy and some attempts at seriousness and some decent creature effects and a few good body horror moments. And really, that's your lot right there. That's pretty much the whole thing of Sting! If you are not a wrestling fan, you are monumentally confused as to why I'm saying that. If you are a wrestling fan, you might have popped. You might be thinking, what the fuck is this guy on about? So, this movie actually isn't out for another couple weeks, but this was this week's Regal Mystery Movie. It was advertised as Horror Edition. I was like, okay, I'm absolutely there. And then the first 2 trailers were not what I thought it would end up being. I thought it might be The First Omen. No. It might be Abigail. No. Might be something for Neon Studios. No. I was shown this trailer about a month ago, and I was like, okay, this is going to be on a streaming service at some point, and it's getting a theatrical release. What? What? I'm all for movies getting a chance to be in theaters, and just because a movie has obvious low production values doesn't mean that it is absolutely a total goddamn loss. Some movies that had low production values but some ingenuity turned out to be pretty goddamn good, and actually turned out to be pretty successful at the box office. I do not anticipate that will happen with Sting, because unfortunately Sting contains a bunch of characters that seem like they sustained several major head injuries. And I'm really not sure what the movie's tone was supposed to be, because the comedy didn't hit at all. Any attempts at comedy, they weren't bargain basement, they were just cheap, and none of the characters are really fleshed out. And any of the characters that they attempted to add any depth to just seemed really, really forced. I mean, all the serious stuff seemed forced. It also seems simultaneously too busy, yet also too empty. I don't really understand what this movie is supposed to be. It could have been a short film, and it would have worked better, because it would have been shorter. It probably would have been on the lower tier of short films, but this isn't as bad as Night Swim. Don't get me wrong. And again, there are a few positives. The creature effects, unless you look at the CGI. CGI isn't all that great, but it is what it is. There was obviously an element of fun to be had in this if you turn your brain totally off. The problem is all the characters turn their brain totally off, because there was one point where one character says, and this is after all this horrible shit is going on. I'm not spoiling anything as far as this, but after this spider has grown and wreaked havoc, one particular character that knows what's going on is like, what the hell is going on? A spider is attacking. What is wrong with you, you idiot? And yeah, they telegraph what the weakness of this particular spider is going to be. And look, not taking the movie too seriously is fine. I mean, really, look at the poster. You shouldn't take this too seriously. The problem is the movie takes itself entirely too seriously. Doesn't really have much of a wink to it. And if it tries winking, then its eye gets basically crusted shut. And then it's trying to search its way through and figure this out. And also, character motivations change like crazy. Any of the preponderance of backstory that they try to heap on the characters, especially this particular family, just doesn't work. Also, I didn't really appreciate the animal violence. Don't worry, it's pretty much off screen, but the implied stuff, yeah, I mean, and I get it. I get why they did it, but I'm not really a fan of that. I'm not downgrading the movie because of that. I'm downgrading the movie because it just wasn't very good, like, at all. Now, you guys can check it out. It could be good to you. You might enjoy it. The theater I was in, even though it was a small theater, was about half full, and some of the audience seemed to like it. Some of them were seemingly rolling their eyes, even though I couldn't see because it was dark. Yeah, I didn't care for this. I really didn't care for Sting at all. A lot of dumb characters, halfway decent creature effects, and any positives were just immediately stamped down, and Yeah, a lot of really, really shit comedy and some interesting camera shots down the ducks and everything, but I'm sorry. This just for every good thing that this movie had, and there was about that much. Just all of this could have been prevented by characters not being so stupid, including one particular character. And there's this like one scientist guy named Eric that lives in the apartment again, consisting of about 4 goddamn rooms, and he's deadpan, but not deadpan the way that Deadeye was in Joyride. I think that's where they got the inspiration. I don't know. I don't know when this movie was filmed. Maybe it sat on the shelf for a while. Probably should have sat on the shelf, collecting dust. Yeah, Sting does not get a recommendation from me. And I'm a big horror fan, and I enjoy stupid horror. This was just stupid. It was also marketed as a horror movie, but not scary. And despite the, the gore effects, it also felt very safe. It also felt like they were cutting away. And I'm just thinking, if this is what they left in, what did they cut out? Because it seemed like there were just so many things where like characters were like, oh, like this and this, and this happened and this happened. And there's this stuff going on with the family. And then boom, 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 this stuff just goes over here. It's just so all over the place. And I don't understand where they were going with this. So I think they added quite a bit out. But at least it was shorter and I didn't have to endure more of this shit. It's going to be in theaters on April 12th if you want to check it out. Or wait for streaming when it's going to be there in a month. 3, 2, 1, spoilers! So yeah, a small meteorite comes down, goes through a window, goes in a dollhouse. Charlotte gets into the duct of her, or gets into the room that her grandma has a bunch of dolls and everything, and uses them as inspiration for her own story, and also takes these dolls and does weird stuff to them. Not quite serial killer-like, but Charlotte is kind of a weird girl. And the actress playing her, she's fine. I mean, really the only actor that you might recognize is Jermaine Fowler, who plays an exterminator named Frank. And in fact, they opened this movie with the grandmother calling him and having memory issues. Then he shows up and he gets dragged away. And then we smash cut to 4 days earlier. Meteorite comes down. Spider gets collected by Charlotte. She feeds it bugs. Also finds out that it's a bit of a mimic. You can do that, and that works. And that's kind of cool. You can do that. That's kind of cool. I'll admit that. And she communicates with it. It can mimic animal sounds. That's a telegraphing thing. Also, it hates mothballs. And that pretty much telegraphs what is going to be the cause of the death of this spider. Except it isn't. Except it isn't at all. There is also an ant that is a raging goddamn bitch. Don't worry, she meets an end. Yeah, there's this adorable, derpy-looking cat. And I used to have a cat actually looked like that. They had the Fu Manchu thing and looked really, really stupid. It was orange and white. Pretty cat. I had a Persian. She was a great cat. I still had the producer, by the way, but that was years ago. I had the Persian. Nevertheless, so once the spider starts growing, it can unhook the lid, and it gets in and it kills a parrot. Just kills a parrot, just dead, stone cold dead. Also, there's Ethan Ryan Core, who was in Wolf Creek 2 and Holding the Man, I believe, which is something that meant me to actually go back and visit because I had seen clips of it and I hadn't had a chance and heard some good things about it. Wolf Creek 2, though, I hated Wolf Creek, so I didn't really see the point in seeing the sequel. Or the third one, I believe, that they made for some goddamn reason. He's a stepdad, and the mother is played by Penelope Mitchell, who is, I mean, she's gorgeous, I'll say that much. Penelope, they have her and Ethan have a kid also together. And the idea is she's concocted this thing that Charlotte's dad actually went to Thailand. That's why he can't be there. Actually, he lives 25 miles away, or 25 minutes away, and it's a bridge. It's a bridge ride, and he just doesn't want to see her. Absentee father. That's kind of dickish. Always be there for the kids. And then there's this one neighbor that lost her family recently. We know that because it's implied looking at a picture. Her name's Maria. Sylvia Coloca, who is gorgeous. I need to see more stuff that she's been in. she gets killed pretty goddamn quickly. The spider crawls on the picture frame, bites her, and then crawls down her throat and slices through her stomach. That's what the spider can do. Meanwhile, Charlotte is just totally unaware that this is happening. Yeah, she's teaching it, the whistling and that kind of stuff. Oh, that means you're hungry. That means you're hungry. No, it's just playing with you because it's a space spider. This is not Paul Damo as a space spider in Spaceman. Skinny human. That was a weird movie. I would actually rather watch Spaceman over this. And I didn't like Spaceman. But it turns out, obviously, the mothballs are a big thing about it. And, the grandmother had a moth thing on there where she says sometime later, I tried to pet this black dog and it ran away from me. Oh, it smells mothballs. Don't don't let that go. And eventually in the scene, I guess it was supposed to be scary. It was supposed to be like, oh God, if only she would look up. But there's this scene where Charlotte is listening to headphones and keeping an eye on the kid, kind of, not really. And her stepdad and mother get taken into the duct by this particular spider. AA, the only spider there. And being drugged into the ducts and all that. And then she eventually says, what the hell is going on? What do you think? What do you think? Could it possibly be the fucking spider that you raised, you stupid, stupid, stupid kid? And I'm not saying the actress, I'm saying the character. And the attempts at comedy with the aunt weren't very good. She was going to kick the stepdad out, but then she got drugged down the duct and killed because she was looking for her cat. I don't blame her anything for the kitty. I would go to the very ends of my sanity and everything to rescue my cat. And then there are some, really besides the effects with Maria, I mean, there's okay effects with Frank, who eventually gets killed in the basement. And, but before that, Charlotte gets, like some mothball water, and then gets a bunch of mothballs, in like a super soaker thing. Then gets a bunch of mothballs and fills water bottles, and is going to use it to dissolve the webbing, because it turns out, oh yes, the spider is just taking these people who took Ethan, put him up in the goddamn, duct, and if the webbing lets him go, he's going to drop, so he's got to catch himself, despite the fact he's been frozen there, and his muscles really should be kind of constricting and atrophying at this point. Even though he's probably only been there for about 30 minutes, and this movie felt like it was about 30 years long. Actually, that's unfair. It was Expedient.com. And then she's trying to find where her mother and the brother are. So she frees Ethan. They fall down into the duct thing because the spider comes down. Yee! CGI is not very good. Not very good at all. They fall into the trash. I guess her super soaker either dissolved, got trapped, and got destroyed. They just forgot that it was there because she wasn't using it anymore. Maybe it was out of ammo. I don't know. They use the water to damage it. Actually, Ethan throws a bunch on there. This is after Eric, by the way, had taken the spider, was feeding it a bunch of animals he had, including rats and a couple bunnies. Fortunately, we didn't see the bunnies get killed. If we had, I might have had her wrote a very stern email to Mr. Turner and said, what the fuck went on in your life that you're killing animals? But then again, horror, it is what it is. Now, I probably need to check out his other movies at some point, because I think one of them actually had Monica Bellucci in it, if I recall correctly. That was Necrotronic, if I recall. Nevertheless, Ethan throws the bottle on there, melting it, affecting the spider. Not so much that the spider, by the way, decides to leave. There's a snowstorm going on, by the way. Snowstorm. Yay, snow. I don't know if this is actually filmed in New York City or filmed in Australia. I don't really give a shit because I do not intend to ever revisit this movie. But it takes place in one apartment complex. Again, 4 rooms, the ducts. And the duct scenes don't really work all that well. Frank then freaks out, covers himself with a whole bunch of this stuff, and then has a nail gun and is trying to shoot the spider through the goddamn duct. But then hits the sprinklers, and the sprinklers is rinsing the stuff off of him. So, oh no. Backtrack a little bit. Ethan was always trying to fix stuff because the apartment complex was not in the best shape. The ant was cheap, and he would always have to plug stuff back in. It was bad wiring. He'd have issues with the trash compactor. Well, naturally, the mother and the brother are in the trash, or sister. I think it's brother. I actually don't know if it's a young man or a young woman. I don't give a shit because the little kid could have gotten eaten and I would have been perfectly happy with that. Character-wise, not actual person. I don't hate children, kinda, except I do. I just stay far away from me. Go stay over there. Stop bothering me. You kids get off my lawn. They're trapped in there. Ethan manages to get the switch and he's going to compact the spider. Despite the fact that the cord goes through there and is going through the part where it's going to compact and is going to possibly sever the cord. Whatever, it's about a space spider. I don't know why I'm applying logic. But suddenly, it won't work. And oh, the plug is unplugged. And he has to get this panel out and conveniently reach through for that to get it. Well, Charlotte has, Sting. That's the name of the spider, by the way, just in case that wasn't implied before. Puts a panel up. Ethan manages to get it plugged in, but then he gets knocked out because movie logic. And she hits the button, and Sting gets squished, squashed. And there you are. That's it. That's it. Don't worry, folks. That's it. There's eggs there because we're implying a sequel. Yeah, eat shit, Sting. God damn it. F. I'm sorry. F. It is not good. There are indie horror movies that are actually good that don't get a theatrical release in this. Credit to the director, writer. I hope that better stuff is in store in the future, but Jesus. F. Agree, disagree what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritland. I'll see you soon.